Whoa! Have you seen these new shirts? No? Well, you can buy them now by going to this website. You can also find the link in the description. By buying one of the t-shirts, you support the channel, so consider it. And I hope everyone has a Merry Switchmas. Now let's get to the video. This video contains spoilers for the game. You have been warned. Ever since The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has been announced, people have been trying to figure out in which part of the timeline it takes place. Is it before Ocarina of Time or after? Is it in the adult timeline or any of the other two? Well, it's time to finally lay this to rest. Today we're going to find out where this game fits in the timeline, so let's start, shall we? In order to find out where in the timeline it fits, we first have to look at a couple of statements made by Aonuma. On February 9, 2017, before the game's release, he revealed that the game takes place after Ocarina of Time, but he did not specify if it was directly after it. He later revealed it is in the timeline in which Ganon appears numerous times. So this leaves us with two options: the Downfall timeline where we see Ganon a ton, and the Child timeline where we see him twice. The adult one doesn't fit, since we only see Ganon once, and that's in The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker. So which of the two is it? Well, in my opinion, it's the Child timeline, and I have some pretty solid evidence for this. First up, the Master Sword. Just look at it. Its overall design is exactly the same as the one from Twilight Princess, even the scabbard. This is already a big hint that it takes place somewhere after that game. Even the resting place of the blade is the same. So this is already where we start to see the similarities and the signs. But there is more. In the game we see a couple of landmarks that look a lot like cities, villages and other places we have seen in Twilight Princess. For starters, Hyrule Castle itself. It looks so similar. It has the same kind of design. Even if you look at the town and especially the fountain, you can see that they are almost exactly the same. But these things are just small signs. It's nothing major. So that's why I saved the best for last. An actual hint in a cutscene. During the memory cutscene of Link's ceremony of becoming the Appointed Knight, the one that wields the Master Sword and protects the princess, Zelda says something very interesting, and it essentially confirms that the game takes place after Twilight Princess. She says the following: "You have shown unflinching bravery and skill in the face of darkness and adversity, and have proven yourself worthy of the blessings of the goddess Hylia. Whether skyward bound, adrift in time, or steeped in the glowing embers of twilight, the sacred blade is forever bound to the soul of the hero." So this is a major hint. Because of this, it's almost 100% certain to be a fact. The skyward bound is a clear reference to Skyward Sword. Adrift in time is Ocarina of Time, and glowing embers of twilight is Twilight Princess. It all makes sense now. Only in the Child timeline have we seen all of this, so we can certainly say that the Downfall timeline is not going to fit. But there's even more evidence for this. We can see that Calamity Ganon returns as some sort of spirit. This is because he has no body. He doesn't have a physical form at all. This is because it was killed in Twilight Princess. At the end of the game, Link stabs him with the Master Sword and he just straight up dies. We can even see at the end of Breath of the Wild that he's trying to create a physical body, but doesn't succeed because of Link. Also, all the races that are seen in Breath of the Wild are also in Twilight Princess. For example, the Zora and the Gorons. Actually, the Gorons aren't even seen in the Downfall timeline, so yet another thing that doesn't fit. But what about the Koroks and Rito? This confused a lot of people, since these are only seen in the Wind Waker. Well, they came into existence because they evolved from the Kokiri and the Zora. So maybe this also happened in this game. Some of the Zora went their own way and turned into the Rito. But what about the Koroks? We don't see them or the Kokiri in Twilight Princess. Well, the Koroks most likely came from the Great Deku Tree, their leader. He can sprout forest tree seeds once a year. We saw this in the Wind Waker, so maybe he can also create Koroks somehow. Another option is the monkeys that we see in Faron Woods. Some people say that they once were Kokiri because of the markings on their arms. So maybe they turned from the monkeys into Koroks. Who knows? In the Wind Waker they did say that they can take on different forms. But what about the Great Deku Tree? We also don't see him in Twilight Princess. Where did he come from? Well, simple. He just popped out of the ground. We saw in Ocarina of Time that after he died, he could actually return in the form of a Deku Tree sprout that would eventually grow in time. So it all makes sense. This also explains why we see so many Breath of the Wild Easter eggs in Twilight Princess HD. Like the painting in the Mallow Mart in Hyrule Castle Town, and the engravings that we see near Hyrule Castle. However, there are also some problems. For example, the sheikah. In Ocarina of Time, it is implied that the sheikah were nearly wiped out, defending the royal family of Hyrule during the Hyrulean Civil War. But now we see tons of them, out of nowhere. How did that happen? Well, I have no idea, to be honest. We have never seen this much sheikah in one Zelda game, so I can't really answer that question. The only thing I can think of is an alternate timeline. This has happened before, since the entire timeline split is essentially that. 3 alternate timelines. But if it was something major like that, then they would have hinted towards that at least. So that's one of the questions I have. But I don't have an answer for it. And this isn't the only thing that doesn't fit. The Gerudo were also absent from Twilight Princess, but now they're back in Breath of the Wild. Yet again, weird. There is no explanation for this at all, but it could fit in the alternate timeline idea, if that's actually true at least. Many questions remain unanswered. So if it's after Twilight Princess, then there must be a timeline split there, since the shrines have been around for 10,000 years. Multiple people stated this. And this would also fix some of the other problems it has. Another option is that it's extremely far into the future, somewhere after Four Swords Adventures. This would explain why we see the shrines and the other technology. Impa told us in a cutscene that these were made long ago, 10,000 years ago to be exact. They were used against Calamity Ganon with great success, and he was sealed away, but eventually returned 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild. However, he was sealed away in the Four Sword after Four Swords Adventures. How could he escape from that? Well, over time the seal would weaken. We saw this with Vati, who eventually got out. So it could also be far after Four Swords Adventures. I'm a bit uncertain which of the two it is, but we can at least be sure that it's in the child timeline. That's all for now, and Breath of the Wild is amazing so far. Hey, be sure to check out the shirts by going here. You can also find the link in the description. If you post a picture of you with the shirt on social media, I will certainly share or retweet it, so be sure to do that. Thanks for watching everybody, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to watch more videos, click the annotations on the screen right now, and I hope you're enjoying Breath of the Wild, because it's pretty good so far.